What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the House of Holocrons, episode 65. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about so many new things that have launched from the amazing upcoming Acolyte series, and it just looks stellar. Aside from that, we also had an amazing Bad Batch episode and a fun bit of announcements for Black Series collectors, TVC collectors, and a lot of new items coming to the Hasbro shops. So there's plenty to talk about today. And so into this news and dropping of things, to kind of start off on a lighter segment, we are, after a lot of people have been waiting for it, Black Series is going to be dropping the Moff Gideon Mandalorian helmet, which looks pretty cool. For some reason, though, I am not gonna lie, it doesn't look as cool as the screen one.
I'm slightly disappointed. It almost reminded me of the old Hasbro Boba Fett.
Yeah,
the toy one. It's
yeah.
how the T visor is shaped.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of disappointed when I saw it.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, I was looking at it, I was like, why does that look wrong? Like, it looks, I'm sure it's not wrong, but it looks weird.
Yeah, it does.
But it's
I might
still
do
cool.
a comparison of, like, I haven't yet to look like how it was on screen compared to that, but it does look off.
Yeah, maybe do a nice dive into that. We can do a fun little collectibles episode on that one too, because you're more of the helmet guy than I am.
Yeah, and then like you said, we got a lot more. We got a lot of Black Series announcements.
Yeah,
it feels a little shallow. I have a feeling it's because they didn't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
because pretty much we've gotten characters we just got shown.
Yeah, so we're getting a full wave of Acolyte figures. We're getting the Squid Games actor, Master. I should have had their names all pulled up, but for some reason I don't right now. Master Soul or Sun, or something like that. We are gonna get Mira, the main Maya, the main villainess, main character in this one. Kick, this that is. I'm just forgetting everyone's names the second I try to bring all this up. But we're getting a lot of good figures. Trinity's character, we're going to be getting that one as well. It's going to be really, really cool. It's awesome to see them announce this and then immediately put all this out. They haven't done that in a while, and I think that's a really good showing for what's going to be happening with all of this. But I know I'm super, super excited about it. Sadly, they did not announce any Vernestra Row. That kind of was the big one. I was like, really? Which I feel like it's, again, like they're just like they don't want to touch the books.
I feel like there's gonna be a spoiler is why.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think it's really just for spoilers.
Okay.
I think there's probably something that comes with her figure that's gonna be a spoiler.
I guess I could see that.
We got another Black Series announcement that I know you're excited for, which is the Holo Darth Maul.
Oh yeah, the Holo series, man, that's such a great series. Real quick, just because I finally got the names up: Master Soul, Master Indara, Jedi Knight Yord, Padawan Jeki, and then May. Those are the characters we're going to be getting. Padawan Jeki, I think, is really cool design. That's the first alien we've seen, especially as a Jedi like that. And then
talking about the where she's a hybrid, I believe.
Yeah, she's a Tavekian human hybrid or something like that.
She's the one of the few ones we see. She's like a dancer, and I think the Clone Wars.
Yes, she's a dancer in Return of the Jedi. She has the bright orange hair.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I know she was a dancer, but this actress we've seen before.
Daphne
I believe she's originally more popular from Logan movie.
Yes.
And then I believe she was also in the Dark Materials TV show.
Daphne Keane is an amazing actress. I can't wait to see what she's going to bring into this. Yord is going to be a fun character because it literally describes him on StarWars.com as a hardcore rule follower who has to go by the books, and that can cloud his judgment sometimes. He also wields a yellow lightsaber. We're seeing a lot of yellow lightsabers on the screen at this one. I think it was a really cool tweet. In the trailer, there's a moment where a lot of lightsabers ignite, and for the first time ever, green and blue were outnumbered.
I mean, it does fit more with the High Republic, so that's nice.
And then, so we're also getting some really good pipelines too, though. The Black Series pipeline destroyed the TVC pipeline, I think, this announcement stream. We're finally getting Deidre. That's going to be a good one. And the new box looks awesome, by the way. They've gotten rid of that side slant, the little wedge, and made it a square box again so people can kind of stack it better. Excuse me.
pretty jealous of the Leia they announced. She's
Oh, the
probably the
TVC
best
Leia.
we've seen.
Yeah, if I opened my TVC figures, I'd get that one. But what's the point of having the hood if I'm not going to put it on her ever?
Yeah.
But it is really cool to have that really with a well articulated brand new Leia. I do have a few of those kind of Leias around and all, but yeah, there's nothing like that in the Black Series just yet. A brand new sculpt like that.
There's another R2D2,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't look anything special compared to what we've
Yep.
had. Actually, it looks worse. We've had some really good R2D2s.
They're also going to be getting a HasLab. That's the big one for TVC. I don't know. They just Black Series TVCs don't do that well, but yes, they do. It's just the last one you chose, no one wanted because it was a Rancor that was stupid expensive, and it came with bones if you gave them more money. Like that's not what we want. But I hopefully before next time we'll get another Black Series HasLab. The TVC HasLab. I'm
Has
calling
they
it
announced what
now.
it is going to be? Okay,
No,
yeah, I
they're
didn't
going
think
they're
so. I
going
just
to
heard of
yeah.
HasLab.
They're doing it May the 4th. That's when they're going to announce the HasLab. And if they're smart, it's the Marauder and the rest of the Bad Batch for stretch goals.
Yeah, that would make sense. That's a really good timing for it.
And it's because they only have Hunter in the Bad Batch right now. So if they could just do the Marauder and then the others in their season 1 appearance at least, just to get all that put out, people would 100%, that would sell immediately.
It's gonna be expensive. Yeah, looking at the pass HasLab, it's gonna be
Dude,
probably like
it's yes.
$400,
For
$500.
$500 exactly. And like I want it so badly, but that's just so much cash. Black Series again though, we're getting the Imperial Armored Commandos. That one's going to be really amazing. I might even have to buy more than one of those to put next to Moff Gideon, maybe 2 of them, because those guys look sick. Then we're also going to be getting Ahsoka the White. That's going to be, I think, the Walmart exclusive. No, the Walmart exclusive is the let's see, I have the pictures here. I know the other one though, we're getting another of the Clones 2-packs. We're getting Yoda and a comic version that has been realistically redone of Commander Gree. We haven't gotten a Commander Gree since like the original Red Box days, so getting a new Gree is a really good touch up, I think.
Yeah, I saw they were making a new Gree. Gree is an awesome design.
Yeah, and getting a new
He
Yoda, that's
definitely
not a bad
stands
thing.
out.
Because our Yoda that we have, like, there's 2 Yodas. There's the Ghost Yoda, which is the proper size, and then there's the older Black Series Yoda, and he is really, really tall. He like comes up to people's hips, and like it's not Yoda. Yoda's like the size of a kneecap almost. Let's see, and then oh yes, that's the big one. The Walmart exclusive is I believe was a 2-pack. Yes, Captain Enoch and a Night Trooper. That one, I hate Walmart exclusives because they're so hard to get pre-ordered correctly and they mess up so much.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like a lot of the other Walmart ones they've been doing, Walmart usually has these almost sitting on the shelf and like going to clearance at this point. Like Walmart's been doing way crazy overstock.
It's a gamble.
Mhm.
Some Walmarts will never stock them. It feels
Yes.
like, and then when they do stock them, it's like a year later in the clearance section, and there's like thousands of them.
Yeah.
It's what happens to me. Either I never see it, or I see it and they just have too many.
But I know that's
Like,
a big thing too that a lot of people are going to be complaining about with Captain Enoch because the vintage collection is only getting him apparently. They didn't say, they apologized and said they'll do better in the future, but they did not say they're going to re-release him on a card back. He's coming in a 4-pack trooper build.
Yeah,
Which means, and not a lot of people are excited about that. So if the 2-pack is more sealed, people, yeah, I think Black Series Enoch is going to sell pretty good.
yeah. They been doing the packs a lot more lately. I think they're just trying to get some figures because they'll put like one new good figure in and then some older figures that nobody wants.
Yeah, well, and I know a lot of the troop builders love it because they just announced the TVC 4-pack in the stream was going to be random X-Wing pilots. That's perfect for that. But you don't put the Tusken Chieftain or Enoch in an army builder because you only need one of them. The whole point of an army builder is to buy like 5, which I'm not going to... I don't have the space for army building. It looks cool, though. But yeah, TVC just didn't have as much of a good showing on this one. And then the other one is, yeah, TVC is getting the Jetpack Trooper from Jedi Survivor. Woo. Grand Admiral Thrawn, again, in the live action, woo. 4-pack X-Wing pilots. Moff Gideon's Imperial Light Cruiser hallway playset. That could be okay, but we kind of already got that one with Mandalore before. Like, that's not an unknown one. Now, this one, a lot of people were asking for in the TVC, and I'm actually happy. Blurg and Season 1 Mandalorian. A lot of people were wanting Blurgs, so I think that one's going to do pretty good, too.
Yeah, and we also, I don't think you've said it on here, we got new packaging as well for the Black Series coming out.
It looks awesome. Again, yeah, they got rid of the wedge. They still have the art on the side, but now the name is sideways. There's a number. They're keeping the color coding for like each series. I actually really like the update. Again, still keeping the window.
Well, the funny thing is that's like really close to what the original box design was.
Yep.
and they switched to the wedge, which looks cool. But if you can tell, I have so many, but they're all like crooked because they have a wedge in the way and they can't sit next to each other. So it's really awkward.
Right. And that was the main complaint they were hearing.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that we're getting these Acolyte characters. Yeah, maybe Vernestra Rowe can't be in it because of a spoiler. Oh my gosh, can we please get a Black Series Kanaka though? Because then we're just one step away from Black Series Buryaga, and that's the figure I'm really wanting. I want a Buryaga, I want Bell, which you just get a Yord and 3D print a Charhound and a new head. I guarantee you there are people out there that will make a beautiful Bell Zetafar 3D modeled head.
I imagine we'll get some now that, well, I feel like this is like the introductory of like I said, it's like this is like the Mandalorian for the High Republic, whereas like it's like their testing grounds to see if the average person will like the High Republic. That's why I feel like that's why they only went so far. Like the tail end, the High Republic. Spoiler: Acolyte is literally at the end of the High Republic.
Yes. So good little crash course here, just in timeline for you all. Phase 2 of the High Republic is set like 300 and something BBY. Phase 1 and Phase 3 are set about 200 and something BBY. And then the Acolyte is like 132, 136 BBY. So Vanessa Rose, old lady.
From 500 to 100, I believe, in total of the High Republic. It's around 400 years long. Which happens roughly 500 years after the Old Republic. So.
Yep. Which, and again, the Acolyte could give us a bit of a lore into it, but so let's go ahead. We're going to start talking about the Acolyte trailer now, guys. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it, because we're going to spoil the hell out of it if you haven't. It was everything I ever wanted to see. We even have a whole reaction trailer on the channel. Be sure to go watch that. Click pause, go watch that, come back. Okay, nice to see you again. It's a really fun trailer, and it does really well. I think it shows off enough to get you amped and be like, oh, so the premise is this really cool, like, what's going on to the Jedi? Who's taking out these Jedi? The discourse, of course, immediately started because some people are dumb. These people just like to complain about stuff. We've already gotten people like, because at the end of the trailer, we all knew this was going to have something to do with the dark side. There's a red lightsaber. All these Jedi are going after it. They get pushed back, thrown away like children playing with a parent. And everyone's like, that's breaking canon.
No.
If the Jedi all die, guess who has no idea there's a Sith?
Yeah, to keep things in canon, they all have to die. Anyone that sees the Sith, unless they just don't believe.
Yeah, or they go like, maybe the Sith makes them go crazy. The Sith could just make the Jedi go crazy. So he goes back to the temple like, I saw a Sith. And like, nah, he's just traumatized.
Oh, the other thing is like, because they're at this point where that they could literally have a Sith walk through the front doors, and they're probably like, well, it's not that they don't have idea; they just are too full of themselves. They won't believe it's actually the Sith.
Or, I mean,
that's the other thing I can think.
Yoda did it in Phase 3. He's gonna do. A few did it in Phase 1. They met the Great Leveler, a nameless creature that can consume the Force and kill Jedi, literally eating their essence. And a lot of Jedi just went, "We're not gonna talk about this, and just forget you saw anything." What? They could do that. I mean, the hubris of the Jedi is the point that leads to their fall, and that's what the High Republic sets up. The Jedi are swelling in their ego, and then the fall of the Jedi takes them out.
And that's why you see so many Jedi, because the Jedi, they're the only thing that exists. The Sith aren't around anymore. Well, that they know of.
Well, and the High Republic is the height of the Jedi Order.
Yeah. Because the Sith supposedly died out at the end of the Old Republic.
Yep.
So the Sith have been seen around since. And the Sith died out. If we still keep what's canon, I guess it's technically canon because they bring up Bane.
Yeah.
Because they essentially kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
which Bane infused the World 2. So the Sith Empire crushes itself, and then the World 2 starts, and then Sith Empire just kind of goes into nothingness, and we get a period into, like I said, about 500 years,
Mm-hmm.
High Republic, which is starts at the height of really the height of the Republic itself,
Yeah.
as well as the height of the Jedi Order. They both have grown so big; they're starting to explore and expand their reaches. A good comparison it's kind of any time you've seen history where there's an empire where it's the height of the empire. You think of like the Roman Empire, where they start spreading their borders.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar situation, though not as violent as the Roman Empire
Yeah.
was, and spreading their borders.
And then, of course, so I just thought about it's kind of cool. So we have the 500 period of the High Republic in which there's not a Sith scene. But we then also have, so that means by the end of the Old Republic, there's a good like 400 something years where the Sith have been wiped out, apparently, and they go into hiding due to the rule of two, that the Old Republic then comes into the High Republic.
Well, you get technically a total of 900 years because
Mm-hmm.
it's because the Old Republic ends the period ends at 1000 BBY, and the High Republic period doesn't start till 500 BBY.
Yeah.
And then that goes until 100 BBY. So we essentially get a roughly about literally 1,000 years of no Sith.
Yep. And that's what we hear in that's the big scene that everyone's challenging. It's like, yeah, but Mace Windu and Ki-Adi-Mundi are like, but the Sith have been extinct for over a millennium. Yes, the Jedi think that, but they never once were. That's the whole point of the great Sith-like comeback.
I mean, if it was true, we wouldn't have Sidious.
Right.
It's just it's with anything that you look at different countries, sects, religions.
Mm-hmm.
Even in our modern day, they don't believe certain things happen. Certain religions don't believe that dinosaurs really existed, or periods of time don't exist. So it's not unheard of. And yeah, it just you gotta think at this time, they literally are being overthrown by a small group of terrorists because they're so full of themselves, they don't grasp that this could actually happen.
Right.
And when it does happen, they just they don't believe it. They just.
And that's what I think is so amazing about this time period and the show we're about to get, because I think the director has done an amazing job talking about this series so far without giving anything away. The fact that she has personally brought people who know nothing about Star Wars into the room, not because she wants an outsider but she wants an outsider to question things, to be like, yeah, but as someone who doesn't understand Star Wars, that story beat doesn't make any sense. She literally says, I do not want to rely on fans and Easter eggs and, flashback moments and stuff to make this series worth something. And that's exactly what we need in Star Wars. Like Rogue One, Andor.
Well, the one that really hit it the worst is the sequels, Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the failing points of it. Is it went really hard. It recorrected itself.
Yeah, it almost relied on, hey, do you know that guy? Isn't that cool?
Well, I think it's because the second one did so bad,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of flipped script, and they went completely the opposite direction.
Yeah,
and went straight for nostalgia bait to a max level, and it's like, hey, you guys didn't like the last movie. Remember Luke?
Yeah.
Here's more Luke, and more Luke, and then oh yeah, here's this other character that we didn't kill off yet, and so. It's a good point to have somebody reel you back in, and it's a good thing because at this point in time, we shouldn't have nostalgia bait all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any references, it should be from the High Republic books.
Yep.
There's only a handful of characters that should exist at this period, and most of them, the only one that really has a reason to show up is really just Yoda and Yaddle. And other than that, there's, like I said, there's a couple characters that do technically exist at this period of time.
Right, like maybe Buriaga, we don't know, but like you said, let's leave him alone because we don't want to go through where's Buri.
Yeah, he should be alive because they live a couple hundred years.
Yeah,
and then I saw somebody point out I believe Dax is named the diner guy.
Yes, Daxter
he should be alive during this time right now.
Yep, he's in the High Republic.
There's no reason we should be seeing him for this part, but we could. But
of course, there's Yariel Poof. A lot of the council members do make it over into the Phantom Menace, but That's because a
Yeah,
lot of aliens live long.
I have a feeling a lot of the characters we're seeing are probably going to get the Rogue One / Bad Batch treatment,
Mm-hmm.
where their fates are probably sealed.
Yeah.
Most of them, at least. Who knows what we're going to expect, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine that we see a big Sith presence and then it gets kind of like. I mean, it's happened to get before, so maybe.
Yeah. My biggest thing too is with this Sith, if it is a Sith, and it could not even be a Sith, the reason they think the Sith are extinct is this could be a different Force cult. Anyone can get their hands on a blood lightsaber crystal, or if you know enough about the Force, you can still do it. Like, you don't have to be a Sith to study Sith things and to try and represent them or to redo them. There's an
Or
entire
use
cult called the
the dark side.
Exactly. There's a cult called the Ascendancy that is not even Force users. They use machinery to gain Force powers for the dark side. So, like, they could be one of those people. I mean, they obviously have Force powers, though. But, maybe they unlocked it all. Who knows? They found something out. The spark eternal.
Or an easy one is the Dathomir witches. Most of their all their stuff is through the dark. They're not Sith. They often align themselves with the Sith, but they don't technically. They're like a sister cult in a way.
Yeah. And
But
speaking
they
of
use
witches,
the dark side.
we're actually getting witches in this very series, too.
And it is I believe we're confirmed that it's a non-Dathomir witch.
Yeah,
It might be
Anasia.
It might be like a offshoot cult that probably started out as Dathomir witch, maybe.
Or the path. What if it's about the path? Because she does have like a
I
spiral on her head.
I hope. God, I hated the path so much. It's so annoying.
But it's definitely a female-centric witch coven type of environment there, which, very Dathomirian-esque, and it could be some cool early High Republic Dathomirians, because we don't know what they were like in the High Republic. They're never mentioned yet. Another thing I thought was cool is Leslie does also talk about the director. Vanessa Rowe will be the only person from the High Republic books we are seeing in this, because she said specifically she wants to maybe save a few for season 2. So she's already thinking about season 2. It might not even be greenlit. We don't even know yet. She could be writing it and like working on it right now, which again, that'd be so stellar. And the people who are complaining about this series being too dark are the same people who were pissed off when it wasn't dark enough.
I think it should be even more darker. I feel like it won't go dark enough.
Right. I'm the same way.
Yeah. And that's the best thing about the poster too, is like so many people are like, oh, this is going to be the woke. It's going to be full of, it's going to be boring, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they drop a poster of a Jedi's lightsaber and it's being emitted with the trail blood that looks like a Sith lightsaber.
Yup.
So that was a big bomb. And then, everybody's going to flip because, popularity about hating everything Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's what sucks the most, though, because again, like literally the same people I saw say, why is Boba Fett not killing everyone in the book of Boba Fett, are now like, this show's too dark, bro. That's not what George Lucas was want. And then I see that, and then every reply to that is Aunt and Uncle Beru burned, that severed arm from the Tatooinean cantina scene. Like, there's a lot of violent stuff in Star Wars. It's not abusively violent. It's not in your face about it because it doesn't have to be, but it's there. There's dismemberment. There's beheadings. Like, it happens.
Yeah, and originally George Lucas he wasn't originally going that way of like making it for everyone, and then he kind of switched that to wanting to, and then he kind of overly corrected in the prequels where it went a little too much E for everyone.
Yeah,
a little too much in the G sector. And then we've shown things recently that Disney's been putting out more and more mature content because somebody, I don't know who's doing it, but somebody up there is smart enough to realize that most of the hardcore fans have all grown up.
Yeah.
So they make it friendly enough for kids to still watch, but they're smart enough to know that hey, they're all adults now. We can up the maturity. We don't have to go back to slapstick comedy for every character, for all the droids and stuff that they had like in early Clone Wars.
And they really should, because again, we're the ones that have the paycheck to buy all the stuff.
And to go to the expensive parks that cost hundreds of dollars just to walk through the front door. And yeah, and so we get things that we're starting to see where Bad Batch is maturing a lot more than you see in its counterpart as the Clone Wars, and you get like Andor.
Yeah.
Even Mandalorian started to mature a little bit. So it's a good thing. I hope that we do get. I want them to push the boundaries. I would like to see, Star Wars that's a little more, because we got so many daggers. I want to see, how can it be somebody that's completely like heavy in the dark side, but they're like don't want to do anything dark.
Right. So do you think
There's
we're
gotta
going to
be
see if we see a Sith, do you think it's going to be an unnamed Sith, or do you think it will finally be like the Master of Sidious? I'm hoping for Darth Plagueis, because he's the only named one. Well, no, I think Tenebrae was also named the same way Revan was. He had like a squad of troopers in the Sith Eternal Army. Yeah. So, I mean, could we get Plagueis and Tenebrae?
I don't at all. I want to see somebody new. I would like to see eventually, maybe at the end of the season, to reference. And I know she said that this is a great period, even though it's still 100 years that we have plenty of time. Well, she's right. But I honestly would like to get the High Republic Phase 2 treatment, where instead of going a sequel, I would like it to go Season 2, to go back in time. Because there's still big chunks of the High Republic that hasn't even been touched on.
Right.
And there's still some dark, they hint at it in the book, especially with some of when you get involved with the Planet X, and then involving and exploring some of the planets, that there is presence of the dark side.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why I always loved when the Drangir were talking about like how the Sith enslaved them and stuff all those years ago. So there are so many cool things to still touch on within the High Republic. And like we've always talked about before, the High Republic's going to be a great era for us to push back and to find new things and to explore stuff, because as much as a lot of us would want them to get into the Old Republic, it's just so messy, and it's so idolized by a very feverish few, and by few I mean thousands, that no, it's not going to make them happy. There's no way in hell someone does the Old Republic and everyone likes it. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong. I don't see that. And you can't touch Revan. They cannot touch Revan except for him. Yeah, he needs to be a mysterious shadow that is referenced.
Well, and I've mentioned it before, glossing over this. I'm gonna skim over. The reason why is people like, why can we touch Revan? We love Revan. You think about when Revan's introduced, he is you pick a gender, you basically decide what he looks like, and literally the whole time in the game, there's decisions. It's a fantastic way of playing the game. But the problem is nobody has the same story. Nobody has the same experience with Revan. Yeah. And so we're all expecting somebody different. So if they do anything with Revan, it's got to be super ambiguous and super like one-dimensional, because if he takes off their mask, a big chunk will hate it.
Yep. That's why I love
because it's a gender they didn't expect. Another will hate it because it didn't act the way they wanted. Why isn't Revan back to the dark side? Well,
because that wasn't his story from Lucasfilm's perspective. And really, to me, it works out better that way. Because like even in KOTOR 2, there's a moment when you're talking to one of your followers. They're just like, yeah, and Revan, it shows what happens when a woman goes crazy. And you're like, I thought Revan was a dude. Like even in the KOTOR 2 game, they made it to where it's like, it could be whatever. Don't worry about it. He wears a mask they wear a mask for a reason.
I think what I understood by the default Revan is understood that it's a woman that did go into the light side. But the rest,
what we have as South canon, Revan was a male who, like from the SWTOR games, has like a goatee and has black hair, so that's why everyone thinks he's supposed to be Keanu Reeves. And then Mitra Surik, his apprentice in KOTOR 2, was a female who did like a lot of other things. But again, just we can leave that alone. KOTOR does not need to be touched. Like I'll be fine if you want to throw in like Mission Veo makes a surprise, or like Zalbar.
If you think about it too, is the funding to do it would be very expensive, because There's
Yeah.
very little KOTOR that isn't a grand battle all the time. You think about every time you see anything KOTOR,
Yep.
it ends up being, even if you go through the main game, it ends up being a big battle. It ends up being some big grandest battle because this is a constant war,
Yeah.
and that'll be very expensive to do.
Especially
And
SWTOR, like
I
after
can't
Revan, when
see.
you have this giant Sith army versus this giant Jedi army, that's hundreds of lightsabers on screen, plus troopers, plus tanks. Like those cinematic movies and trailers they have throughout that MMORPG are nothing but massive battles.
Well, everything you hear about before KOTOR is, it's got the
Great hyperspace
Jedi
war.
Mandalorian War,
Yeah.
all these great wars, and then he brings this army with the I forgot the machine's called. He makes a giant
Oh yeah,
army.
the Eternal, the whatever that
He
thing,
brings the Sith
Starforge.
army, and then the Republic comes back, and it's
Yep.
just constant giant wars. It's not really feasible to do correctly. So it's just the truth of it.
And I don't want Darth Tenebris either, because that's just Darth Palpatine in the Old Republic who succeeded. That's all that is. He
And for
learned
all
essence
you
transfer.
diehard haters that still love KOTOR, do you really want Disney messing up KOTOR or Knights of
Exactly.
the Old Republic? Do you really? I mean, you hate everything they do already. You really want them to touch the Old Republic?
Right. So I'm happy with them just stay in the High Republic for a while. And I'm so happy with all the people wanting to read the comics and the books because, whew, there is a lot to read though. So look on the channel because I'm sure here soon I'm gonna try and record a let me catch you up kind of story. We're gonna go over the comics. We're gonna go over the books. There's so many things to go over. It is a lot of story that has been condensed into these 500 years, and it is filled with crazy backstabbing and cults and political intrigue.
And I compare this to history because it's really similar. If you want to get a grasp of how things are at this current time, you think of the Old Republic as the Roman period of Europe, where technology was at a height at one point, and then it fell, and then things kind of went into almost a dark age, and that would be the 500-year gaps. Whereas the High Republic is the late medieval period.
Yeah.
We're going into the Elizabethan time, where it's going back into the height, and there's a lot of colors.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of more, everybody's exploring the globe.
Renaissance.
Yeah, we're going into literally the High Republic is literally their Renaissance, and they're exploring new frontiers and they're exploring new technologies of space travel.
Everything's bright and colorful.
And with that, it is considered a time of peace, but also along with our history, that if you deep dive, you realize there's a lot of feuds, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of
exploration and expansion is tumultuous.
And even within, even with the exploration, or even within the houses, there's feuding families.
Yep.
Feuds going on.
You have like the hyperspace lane prospectors, the Graphs versus the Santecas. Like there's so many different aspects to the High Republic, and they could even make Andor-like series within the High Republic because there's a lot of really cool stories that have nothing to do with lightsabers. So it's a great time period, and it's a really fun time period. Happy to see them breaking into this. Happy to see the Black Series getting figures. Hopefully this will get us into some book figures and stuff like that. But
in a couple months, it'll be all we'll talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get teasers close and close. I don't think we'll get any hard drops until May 4th.
Right. But hey, 2-episode premiere again, so that's awesome.
Yeah, but before we spend the entire podcast talking over, because we could easily, we also had an episode of Bad Batch.
Which was a very fun one.
Today that we're recording.
And I know, I'm sure 3 people have already put on the internet, filler, yeah, whatever, shut up. Because it's a nice little mission that has a small setup for what's going to happen, but is mostly concluded within the episode.
It's, like you said, it's what was expected, and then for me, wanted.
Hmm.
We needed more time with the boys again
Yeah,
before we start separating everyone and throwing them in. Well, they do separate, but we get
in a good
some
way.
moments together.
Because we
So
get stories from both sides that don't feel like they're overlapping or trying to fight for screen time. The Omega Crosshair story is just small blurbs here and there, while
yeah,
the Hunter Wrecker story takes off like the main part of the series of this episode, in which of course Hunter and Wrecker are like, we need to go find out what's going on with this M count. So they bugger off to go meet Fennec Shan, figure out what an M count is because they know the bounty hunters were tasked with taking these people. They run into
and
Fennec, and Fennec's got a job for him. You want information? I get paid by you doing this job.
they get the original actor to voice her.
Yes, Ming Na
It's
Wen
awesome.
returns. Which it's she has such a great she does a great job voice acting, real life action acting. It's I love Ming Na Wen so much. And they have to go after a target that Fennec has been looking at, someone who's wronged a few crime syndicates and gotten away with it, stolen a lot of money from the Haxian Brood and things like that.
Yeah.
Which first time we've heard them in a while. Like the Haxian Brood, I don't think that showed up until like episode 9 or no, I mean episode 7 or 8 or something.
Well, this season's been doing a lot of callbacks to the
Mm-hmm.
first season. So this isn't the first thing because we had it with the original. I think episode was 1.
Mm-hmm.
We had back to the gang or the syndicate from the
Yes.
first season.
Yep.
So there's a lot of backtracking here. But yeah, she has this target that is on essentially a space bayou.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With space gators. Yeah. So yeah, they send the boys out. She's gonna do what Fennec Shan does best and be like, "You do all the work. I get all the money." She makes them do all the tracking, do all the explosives.
Yeah,
It's funny.
it was funny. My wife asked me, like, "Why is she not? Why is she just sitting in the boat? Why is she not helping?" I'm like, I mean, she's getting her money's worth for
Yeah.
starters, and two is like this guy's known for running. He's gonna try to escape,
Yep.
but really, she's getting her money's worth. It's like she's not hiring these guys to let her do all the work.
Exactly. She has Wrecker and Hunter go down, disarming a bunch of mines, pushes through it anyway, knowing that he would never the Mark would never expect them to go this way. And it's a fun little just
It's
quirk.
true.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a fun fight with an alligator. Like a bunch of these like space gators come up and try to kill him, and Wrecker just ends up literally punching a bunch of them, and, like slamming them.
Well, Hunter gets grabbed by one,
Yeah.
and because he didn't get on the boat fast enough, and I love that Wrecker just
jumps
literally
in.
just jumps and stands on top of a gator
Yeah,
trying to crush him.
I love Wrecker
It's so
much.
dumb.
I love him so much. He's so
I
special.
love how he's got like this childish attitude and he does the dumbest things. Yeah, he's like an expert with explosive ordnance,
Yep.
which is very technical. So I'm just like watching like he's like picking wires.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, how? It's like it does not fit your personality.
But
I just
yeah,
imagine
as long
like
as
how
it
he
goes
defuses
boom.
a bomb, he just rips the wires out.
All of them at once.
But no, that's not what he
Ah.
does.
It's a
like-
really good
he's like-
episode. We eventually then get to the point where they get into the hut where this the Mark is, and Hunter is fighting for his life. That guy is a spry insectoid like creature, so he's very camouflaged and skittery. He's able to move around really easily, and it's just a crazy fight. Wrecker and Hunter, even together, can't really get a grip on this guy till eventually, of course, the Mark tries to steal a boat and run off. It's been disabled by Fennec, and there's more altercation and stuff, and takes like what 4 or 5 stun shots to get this guy to finally go down.
I believe it was like 2 from Hunter, 1 from Wrecker, and then 1 from Fennec.
Yeah. Really.
It's just the most I've ever seen on
Oh
a
yeah,
humanoid.
that dude. That's hard. Those things are pretty powerful.
I don't think I've seen a humanoid not take 1.
Yeah. Maybe it's
Or
his
not take more than 1.
insectoidness.
Yeah.
He's got 4 hearts or some weird shit.
They wear the bones in the outside. So.
Exactly. Now, the whole time this has kind of been going on, we're getting a lot of story with Omega and Crosshair about his hand. Crosshair, again, he has the robot check it out. The robot's like, bro, I don't think there's anything wrong with you physically. Yeah. I think it's mental.
I called that from day one when
Yeah.
I first saw his arm shake. I was like, I've seen that before. At first I thought it was probably like a form of Parkinson's due to the brain damage from the chip. But
now
they
it's PTSD.
Yeah, they seem to think it's PTSD, which, again, they're hitting the hard hits that you don't normally see on a kids show.
Right.
This isn't the first time they've done kind of a PTSD thing going on.
Yeah.
They've done it already before, and this is like another form of it. They kind of gloss over it. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's starting to really affect them, and it affects many people.
Well, and like he
Especially,
says, Omega even says, like, you're still a better shot than most. He's like, but it's not about that. You either hit
yeah.
or you miss as a sniper. There is no in between.
And especially have prisoners of war.
Mm-hmm.
They get tortured like he did. It happens all the time,
Yeah.
and with soldiers in general, they're often told, and the whole joke is like, you get shot, here, take a painkiller.
Mm-hmm.
They throw things, so seeing getting injured or getting as often when you're there, you're often, it's no big deal. I can keep trooping on.
Yeah.
And then when it's told mental, it's like, well, like, it's not that big of a deal, but it is.
Yep.
And that's, like I said, it's a bigger topic than most people realize, and it's interesting that they're covering it, because that is what would happen to somebody that did get tortured, that did see what he's seen. I mean, it's surprisingly there's not more clones with PTSD than there are.
Right.
As you think about all I mean, they're basically were used as cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And they've blown up, shot, seen brothers die left and right, and they get really close to each other.
Yeah.
Midway through the Clone Wars. So yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a part of like the Kaminoans' mental mapping they gave them. Like they probably put parts of them that were like less susceptible to it somehow, just by the way they were able to tweak the brain. But it is very powerful.
It could be a part we never saw is
Mm-hmm.
that they gloss over. It's like, could you either just toss out the clone or re-wipe them. It's probably where they get the technology for the X, is probably the re-brain map, maybe, to get rid of the PTSD. Who knows?
We get Omega even teaching Crosshair. I love that she even mentioned that it's a trick I learned from Gungi. So meditation, which is going to be big, I bet, for Omega. This might lead to, like, I was waiting for a rock to start to like rattle or float or something when she was meditating. I was like, are they going to really go that far right now? But it looks like she's not going to be able to really manipulate the Force like that yet, maybe. But
I think it would distract too much from what's going on. I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It would be kind of cheap to do so if they still plan on giving it the Force. But yeah, it's
I love that scene though,
because meditation
Hunter's just like, what the hell are we doing?
I mean, a form of meditation is a legit way to help with mental health.
Yeah.
So that is a great way that they're tackling that way, and whoever know how to meditate the best is the Jedi.
True.
So that was pretty good for her. It's funny in this season. This is not what I would have called that. Omega and Crosshair have been bonding so closely now.
Yeah.
I almost feel like we've already seen a little bit, but I feel like we might get some later on. We might get some jealousy out of Hunter and Rector. How close they've been starting to become.
Yeah, that'd be so funny. Like they have a dad off.
It's like, I mean, it makes sense. It's like you get the one parent you haven't seen in forever, and they get him back, and so you're trying to make up for all the time you missed. But
right,
I can imagine the other two is like, where's my my bonding time?
So we get a successful mission. They capture their target. They're taking it back to the ship. Everything's worked out well and okay for Fennec. Finally, we get them back to the space station. They meet. They're like, okay, give us the info. And she's like, I ain't got it. I got to get a hold of the guy who has it. And they're like, that's not what we discussed. And she's like, I don't care. I promise I'll keep my word. But then she does what a bounty hunter does best and tries to make more money. I don't know if she was talking. We don't know who she was talking to, but she definitely tells somebody, "Hey, this is where the clones are. I got them for you. Like, if you wanna come look at them, come get them or something."
Some people think it's the character that we're expecting to see, but I think it's the other one that starts with the C.
Yeah.
Which is more his personality, because I don't see Asajj heavily working for the Empire, where Cad is, and If anybody knows what the M count is at this point, Cad definitely would know because he's
And
been
he's a
hunting
Jedi hunter.
Jedi.
Yeah.
He was hunting Jedi
Before it was cool.
before. Yeah, well, the Republic was still a thing.
Yeah, he was hunting Jedi for the
Well,
SIS or CIS.
well, he was hunting. Well, if you remember, there was a deal where he was hunting small Jedi for
the younglings.
early Sidious, because
Mhm.
Sidious was starting to try to abduct little younglings, before they.
Yep.
So that was one of the whole big thing, and so he was doing that already. So I'm sure it's Cad. But we could still see Asajj. They probably, because I believe we're gonna get the scene where they're all sitting together, and who knows?
If it is Cad, it's going to be a crazy fight if it does end up happening. This could be like the destruction of Pabu if they're going to go that crazy, or because apparently a lot of people have seen a still that got shared sadly everywhere, so I've already seen it, of the Marauder getting blown up, or what they thought is the Marauder. So there could be some crazy scene happening with an attack on the boys and the batch. Cad Bane can't die. He's going to make it to Book of Boba Fett, so Cad's going to live through whatever happens here.
Yeah, I'm still surprised he died in Book of Boba Fett. He probably would have died of old age.
Maybe.
He's shown he's very hard to kill. I mean, he has probably the best track record canonically than any bounty hunter. Even better than Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That's coming from a fan of Boba Fett.
Yep. Yeah, Cad Bane is pretty good.
He's literally done better against Obi-Wan than Jango Fett did. So.
If it is Asajj, that would be interesting. Again, like you said, she's not going to be working for the Empire. It could be maybe she's like trying to find people with an M count herself, though. Maybe Fennec is working with Asajj to help keep people away from this by using the path. Asajj could be with Quinlan on the path, helping them like save Force-sensitive children and Force-sensitive people.
I hope so. If we still keep in the Quinlan connection, I mean, it makes sense because at this time he should be helping Jedi, or have already started because of the Obi-Wan series.
Yep. I mean, if we get Asajj and Quinlan to meet Omega, and Quinlan Voss could be the thing that cements Omega being Force sensitive or just Force adept.
I hope that we do get to see Quinlan. It would be a
so
terrible
cool.
master for Omega, but
he's the best.
He's not always been. There's a reason why he was never made a master in the council.
But that would be perfect for Omega with all her like clones
I guess
backing
that's
and
true.
stuff.
But yeah, it would make sense. And it would almost be like they could maybe intercept the info, like Cad's going to do it, and they're kind of like they're also found out that they're asking for M count, so they're also interested in it. Or maybe I don't know, here Cad's going to abduct someone with M count, and so they're trying to stop it or something. I don't.
Right.
But I would see more of them as the counter. That if they are working for the Empire to find M count, that they're actually rescuing people. But
it's going to be a fun one. I enjoyed that we got the Fennec. I thought Fennec and Cad were going to be in the same episode a bit more. I liked this episode though. Again, it had a base premise that was wrapped up, but then allowed the story to progress by Fennec alerting whoever she was alerting, so that we know either the next episode or the one after is going to get crazy. Like someone's going to show up.
It would make sense that Fennec would immediately take them. They'd have to do something to earn it. It did make sense for a character arc, and then it also progressed storyline with Crosshair, because he's got a condition going on, so they needed to address it. So it's better address it now than at the end of the season.
And I'm sure Fennec knows, like, Fennec can't take on the whole Bad Batch by herself, even if she is doing bad things. She's not dumb enough to try and take on all of them to get Omega.
I mean, she's a sniper. She's not the best, and she even says that when you watch Book of Boba Fett, she's not meant to do melee. She knows she can't take them all on. When she read their files, she even says that, so she knows who she's talking to.
And she's an amazing fighter still. I mean, she can hold her own for a bit, but not against all of them. That's hard to do for anyone that's not Force sensitive, pretty much. So it was a fun episode. And again, I'm really looking forward to the next one. I don't know if I think we have a few more episodes before we start getting into the next.
We're gonna have one more. I think we're having one more and then we're gonna have a twofer.
So I could definitely see it being this next one is like a lighthearted, again, another maybe like, oh, what's going to happen with the batch? And then that two-parter will probably be, again, some big stuff happening.
But then the next one is called the Harbinger, and then
Okay. That's
after
definitely,
that,
that's definitely Cad Bane or Asajj and Quinlan, 100%.
and then after that we get Identity Crisis and Point of No Return.
Ooh, yes, that's things are really going to start taking off there. Point of No Return, I could see like they go after Pabu or something, and the batch is just like, okay, we got to kill Mount Tantus. Time to blow it up. Clone Uprising, let's go. Man, I hope we get to see a Clone Uprising. That right there would be a stellar way to like really round things out, start getting rid of the clones a lot heavier, except for like these Clone X's, which I believe CX clones, these reprogrammed assassins, could easily become the Death Troopers.
It's interesting. I don't know if you know the full definition of a Harbinger, but a slang term, a Harbinger is someone or something that is a sign that something is going to happen, and it's usually something bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not always bad, but it's like a warning.
Yeah.
So it's a person or a thing. The full definition: person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another.
Catastrophic event.
Usually bad, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting again, but like, oh my gosh, people will lose their shit if we see Quinlan Vos and Asajj. It will be so good. But it's just it's a great time for Star Wars again, like with these announcements, with these new figures coming out, with the books, with the games we're going to be getting here soon. I mean, Outlaws isn't that far off anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Quinlan would fill in a lot of questions with gaps.
Yeah, he could explain the path a little bit.
Yeah, we could see, maybe if the Bad Batch do still technically exist for a little bit more canonically, if that's something, maybe they join Quinlan. They can no longer help the clones.
Yeah.
At this point, so then they start helping Force sensitives. That would be interesting storyline that they could start going down.
Yep.
It would almost be a whole season's worth. That would be awesome to watch, but we're not going to get that.
And everything else didn't allow them to.
What Omega does.
Yeah.
And Lou, and that could be her new calling is she tries to help with the path of the Force sensitives.
And it would make sense because what happened to her, they've been taking her constantly trying to do this. She would be a perfect fit to help these other Force-sensitive children and people to get away from the Empire.
Yeah, because at this point, she should go in hiding, but she doesn't have the personality to want to do that.
Not at all.
And so, like I said, I feel at the end of the season, there ain't going to be much use to help clones. I feel like a lot of the clones are going to get purged. Or something's going to happen to the clones.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I know that much. I don't know what they're going to do against them. There has to be some crazy the TK troopers. If all of those clones break out and are able to get armor and arms, they'll have to go up against the commandos. But I don't think all the commandos would even fight their brothers like that. Like some of them would probably help because they'd just be like, "I'm done with this Empire stuff." Like some of them are. I don't know. It's weird. We got to get Wolf out still, so there's got to be a whole thing with that.
I still think there's some connection with them and the Death Troopers.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're just going to give them the X treatment and turn them into Death Troopers.
Yeah.
So then they would definitely turn out because you see the Clone X shoot at the clones. He doesn't care.
Oh no, not at all.
So that I think could be how they do Project to turn to make the Death Troopers, because we should start seeing them pretty soon. Because we see them in Andor, we see them. I think the earliest we've seen them might be Andor, maybe the earliest we've seen them.
Yeah, Andor, Rogue One.
Well, Rogue One happens after Andor.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the timeline because we didn't see him in Obi-Wan.
Nope.
So I think it would have to be Andor as the earliest we've seen a Death Trooper. So.
Yeah. And
we haven't seen them yet on Bad Batch.
They're always guarding the elites. They're always a better shot. They're like a much better trooper and stuff.
And that's what we see Clone Commanders doing right now is they're guarding elites.
Yep.
So.
I could 100% see that. But it's gonna be great. I mean, again, there's just so much happening, and that's so amazing. There's so many comics coming out. There's so many books still to read, still to listen to.
It's going to be sad. I feel like this is
Yeah,
going to be the end of any clone show. I know you'll be happy, but I'll be upset. I
not
think
happy. Just I'm just done with the
I
Skywalker
understand.
saga.
I still enjoy the clones themselves.
Yeah.
Um, but there's baggage around them, which and yeah, I'm ready for us to move to something different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've played in the safe area, and we've delved in many little gaps we can, and we've
Yep.
had so many people survive Order 66, and now it feels like the Empire doesn't know how to do their job. So
It's gonna be a really awesome time. I know that much. But again, and me personally, so my biggest wants is for Bad Batch to have Clone Rebellion and to really wrap that story up, and then to maybe give Omega to the way or whatever the hell it's called.
yeah, I could see Cody leading a clone revolt,
Yeah.
and that's what the kill off a lot of the clones,
Yep.
or it might be a small revolt, and the response they just start
Yeah.
purging what clones they have.
Yep. And then when it comes to Acolyte, I want to see Sith, like pure Sith. I don't care if it is Pelagius and Tenebris or Tenebris and his master or
I
someone and someone. Like I just want it to
I want
be.
to see. I don't want to see it part of that line. I want to see it tied to old Sith, like old Republic Sith. I'd rather have that tied in. I don't want to have any connection to Sidious. Is the problem.
I just don't know how that's possible. There's no other
Yeah.
Sith cult out besides the Rule of Two at that time.
Well, one thing that I saw somebody talking about, they think that there's a island that a ship lands on, and it's not a part of the Jedi. They think it's the Sith character, and
Mm-hmm.
they think that that person has been hiding out on that Jedi temple.
Yeah, it's
Which
Octu.
we
I was
see.
actually going to
Yeah,
mention. If we had time, I was going to
we
mention that. I think that's Octu as well. It looks a lot like it. Some people are saying no, it's this other one, but it
well,
looks
it,
a
it would
lot
make
like it.
sense because the Sith did come from the Jedi in the new
Mm-hmm.
canon. Um,
And it would make sense for the Darksider to want to go to
so,
that spot because the Prime Jedi literally found a Force Nexus there for the dark side.
yeah.
So they would go
So
there too.
So they think that they've been hiding out there. I said I would rather have a different connection. Um, it would be cool to have a reference to one of those Sith, but I wanted somebody that's an actual full-on Sith, and not somebody that manipulates a couple things.
Yeah.
I want the old school, like, or the cultish Sith, where it's like destroy worlds type thing.
Yeah, but whatever Sith we see will eventually either will become the line of Pelagius or something. But regardless of all that, that's what I loved about that quick trailer is like they saw terror. You saw terror in those Jedi's face when they saw that red lightsaber. So I am just excited that I think what is it one of my favorite
red,
things
just
ever.
like red.
Yeah, I just like red. One of my favorite things ever was when Leslie said something along the lines of, I always forget it the second I try to bring it up. She was talking. I hate when I do this. I had a complete brain fart right there in the middle of this. But
There's been a lot of quotes. I'm not sure which one it
there's
is.
so many stuff because we're getting barraged by all this amazing news and things. It's going to be a great time. Oh, here we go. Star Wars, the original trilogy, is the rebel cells versus the syndicate, or like versus the man versus the authority, which is the empire. In the Acolyte, you still have this small cell versus the big power versus the law. And in this case, it is now the Jedi. The Jedi are going to be shown to be the bad guys pretty much in this. And I am so here for that. A lot of people are saying there's this little girl in the opening of the trailer that says, when she's meditating, I see fire. And a lot of people are thinking that's May and it was a flashback. Like, this little girl sounds like she's been kind of tormented by the dark side from a young age. And we've seen in a lot of the books and other material that can happen to people. Like, they're almost, because they're a bit more aggressive, because they're a bit more passionate, the dark side is calling them constantly. So I'm just so excited. I know the Bad Batch is going to be so good. I didn't get this tattoo for nothing. It's not a clone helmet on my hand. I'll get a clone tattoo soon. Don't worry about it. But for right now, man, I am a Sith stan. I am in love with the Sith. The fact that we're going to get something so dark side is just everything to me. It's everything I've wanted in a show. And that trailer did not disappoint whatsoever. Old school kung fu like choreography. But again, I just can't not harp on how amazing this time is. And guys, don't listen to naysayers. Star Wars is very enjoyable when you just take those assholes out of your ear and just remember that they're not happy no matter what. The only reason they complain is because that rage, that clickbait, that hatred is the only way that they can actually process anything or get any money or get any views. They live a sad, pathetic life.
And one thing I saw that I guess we didn't dress over is I think somebody was talking about how the Sith was able to wipe out a whole group of Jedi easily. Well, one, they were surprised, and two, you gotta remember these Jedis are not war Jedi.
Yeah,
they've been a time of peace. Most of them have been recovering from a whole terrorist weird thing, but even during that, they were getting the flow up because they weren't all about fighting wars. And most of them had never ignited their lightsaber except when training, so that was new to them. And this is going to be like that here. I expect the Jedi to make a lot of dumb mistakes when fighting. They should.
Especially someone they're not. Yeah, and they're not experienced in fighting. Like, yes, they deal with like guns, they deal with blasters, they deal with smugglers, they deal with pirates. But this is a whole nother level. They literally have not trained in lightsaber dueling, except for minor stuff in the Jedi Academy, and that's it. Because they never thought they'd have to go up against another lightsaber. So this is going to be catastrophic to the way that they fought, and they're going to be taken by surprise a lot. I mean, they're not going to know what to do. Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the High Republic when they had attacks, they had they actually had to ask permission, like, is it okay if we fight back? Because the Republic were getting attacked, and the Jedi isn't a part of the Republic at this point in time. And so they actually had to ask for permission if they could even engage during the attack, because one, they don't normally fight, and two, like, get involved in like wars and stuff, and it wasn't their fight. Well, it was, but
I get you.
So they should. I want to see them, get attacked, and they like, they hesitate. Like, do we fight back?
Right. Isn't violence not the answer? And like, no, that guy's going to kill you if you don't fight back. We got to fight back now. But regardless, it's going to be a great time. As we get more stuff, we, of course, are going to talk about it. There's so many things to talk about with the Acolyte. So don't be surprised if we get a few more random blurbs. We'll talk about it a little bit more next week. And definitely, of course, the next Bad Batch episode. If we get any more news and fun things announced, we'll always, of course, cover those. Make sure to look forward on the main channel for some videos explaining the High Republic phases 1, 2, and what of 3 we have. Be ready for some talks about how are they going to get Wolf out, what's going to happen, and just, some very fun conversations about comics, Black Series figures, and all those kind of fun things, and announcements, of course. Guys, thank you so much for dropping by and joining us this evening. It was an amazing time. Put down in that comment section while you're clicking like and subscribe, what are you expecting from the Acolyte series? And if it's just bias hate, I'm just going to tell you now, you're dumb. So have an amazing rest of your evening. And as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the Force be with you.